What's hard about this? You might think it's daunting to look at your life this way. And it is. We always underestimate our capacity and capabilities. We're reluctant to put commitments in writing because we think doing so might box us in. And it's scary to make changes in our lives over the long term. We have no idea what our purpose could be in life. Though we have a vague sense we're here for a reason, we prefer to give ourselves an excuse for not fulfilling that vague purpose. We think of ourselves as a work in progress, fallible and full of mistakes. We also don't like to think of ourselves from the obituary point of view, which is what the life accomplishments are all about. But Charles Dickens got it right. If we don't view our lives in a much larger scope and with a sense of ultimate purpose, a finish line, by the time the obituary is almost ready to be written, we're moaning on our deathbeds about all that lost potential. We're like old Marley screaming about those heavy chains he forged in life. Or Ebenezer Scrooge staring down at his tombstone, full of regrets about the life we might have lived, the contributions we might have made, but didn't. That's a very frightening and motivating thought. Life is short. We really don't have a lot of time to waste. Not you, not I, not anyone else on this road that we are all walking together. So, assuming you are ready to claim Golden Rule 1 in wanting to make the world better fast, you first need to exercise some self-discipline, to take yourself strictly in hand, as if you were your own best friend, or maybe the ghost of Christmas future, and impose some hard, deep thinking on yourself. One of the first challenges to thinking about 10 areas of your life is setting aside time to do it. We're all terribly busy, and the notion of sitting in a chair for several hours or days, mulling over our goals, thinking about the ultimate direction and finish lines, is anathema to people who are already overcommitted. All I can do to respond to these concerns is to talk about my own experience with this exercise. Doing it in a constrained environment. I was in that YPO workshop. Was helpful. If you're not in such an environment, then you need to constrain yourself. Try to take a weekend or an hour every evening, when you're not distracted by other things, to sit quietly and think deeply, with your goal template before you. For me, sitting down and working on my life plan was daunting at first. Not only because I was young and it was hard to think long term, but because it's demanding to challenge yourself and come up with measurable, ambitious goals. But I quickly understood that developing the life plan was probably one of the most important exercises I would ever undertake, because so much more was at stake than just the stuff on my own career resume. My personal happiness and that of my family depended on my taking the time to think deeply and sincerely about these things. I realized that I could either treat my community and network of friends and family in a haphazard way, or I could enhance them by focusing energy on them. Even the state of my soul depended on the goals I put into my life plan. Once I understood that, I made thinking about my purpose in life and working on it a priority. I began reviewing my life plan on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. I found that working on it got easier the more attention I paid to it. Some of the questions I've asked myself, as well as my goals, have remained pretty steady. The life goals tend to be ongoing. Others have changed over the years as my life has changed. For example, I was once somewhat overweight. Once I got my weight down, the goal of maintaining my BMI has remained pretty much the same. But the annual goals change yearly. Some goals have shifted as circumstances changed. For instance, a few years ago, when I began thinking about this book, Philanthropy University did not exist even as an idea under community. In December 2014, when I thought about my specific, measurable goals for 2015, I inserted produce the Omnipreneurial MOOC, the free online course for Philanthropy University, and many goals have become far more ambitious than they were when I started out. Because as I achieved smaller goals, I needed bigger ones. Indeed, in following the 10 golden rules, I've seen that my goals and accomplishments have expanded, because all the rules influence each other. This is an important point. You need to set what I would call Goldilocks goals. Well-defined stretch goals that are neither so difficult that they feel impossible, nor so easy that they hold no challenge. Look for goals that are doable but also feel just right. A too small Goldilocks goal under health, for example, might be to drink 8 glasses of water a day. That's actually a pretty easy habit to acquire. A too hard Goldilocks goal might be to do an Ironman triathlon. Though a more hardened and dedicated athlete than I could conceivably aim that high. A more reasonable goal might be one that you can maintain daily. But that also challenges you. In my case, to work out for an hour a day, 5 days a week, and to maintain my ideal body mass index, BMI. I also recommend you think about the following 3 questions in setting and achieving your goals. What's the best kind of world-oriented goal? If possible and appropriate, choose a goal that does the greatest good for the greatest number of people. This isn't so much about your own individual goals as it is about achieving something in the world. How do I know whether my goal is really worthwhile? Ask yourself, does the goal fit with my deepest values and principles? And is it the ethical thing to do? In my world, giving, earning, and sustaining are at the core of what I do. If I stick to that balance, the decision about what action to take always presents itself. There is little struggle when the right thing to do resides at your core. Banish guilt. It's important not to be hard on yourself during the process of realizing your goals. Guilt is not part of this system. It's not the end of the world if you don't get to the last few feet of your finish line. You may not get to perfection in pursuing your goals, but I guarantee that in making the attempt you will feel more satisfied with your life. This is all to say that it's really important to hold the goals lightly. Aim for them, but don't beat yourself up if you don't achieve them, or don't achieve them in the time that you hope. This is an important point. 2. Don't let time be the enemy. You want to try to achieve things within a certain time frame, but you need to forgive yourself if that doesn't happen. For example, I wanted to have finished writing this book 2 years ago. It's now in your hands. But it took me longer than expected to get there.